So today I'm going to talk to you about budgeting, more specifically the budget method that I use to make sure that I don't do any unplanned spending. And by unplanned spending, I mean last minute deciding to buy this or that, not if your hot water tank goes or you need a new transmission in your car. That actually has to do with an emergency fund. I will talk about that in another video and the importance of why you need to have one. As for this budgeting method, it is called the zero-based budget. So what a zero-based budget is when you budget every dollar of your upcoming paycheck. Every cent, every dollar, it's accounted for. There's apps, there's tools that can help you, or you can just point blank go do an Excel spreadsheet, a Google sheet, and just physically write it out. To ensure there's no mistakes, I wouldn't recommend physically writing it out, maybe doing a Google spreadsheet with formulas or something. A really good app is the Every Dollar app. It is from Ramsey Solutions, that's Dave Ramsey's company. The only flaw with that is that it goes on a monthly basis and most of us get paid bi-weekly. But if you do get paid monthly, I would highly recommend that app. So what you do in a zero-based budget, like I said, you plan for every single dollar. Start off with your fixed expenses. Those are the expenses that don't change on a monthly basis and they stay consistently the same, like your mortgage, your rent, your car payment, your student loans, your phone bill if you're not someone that has overage charges all the time. If you do, that's a variable expense, that's different. Make sure you include your fixed monthly subscriptions and plans as well in there, like Netflix, Amazon Prime, gym memberships, OnStar, your AMA, AAA, whatever. Make sure you account for every single thing that comes, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, annually. Account for it. If you can't remember it or when it comes, go back in your emails and look at when your receipts were. Go back on your bank statements. Figure out when you paid for it last. Then I would go into your variable expenses, and then that would be more like your utilities, your gas, your groceries, the stuff that just changes each time depending on your usage, etc. Make sure if you have money owing that you always make at the very least a minimum payment on your credit card. But I would advise, unless you're going through debt repayment and you're following Dave Ramsey's baby steps or something along the lines of that, do not just make the minimum payment. Because my husband, for an example, with his credit card on his statement, it said if you keep making the minimum payment, you will have your credit card paid off in 52 years. Making just the minimum payment with the interest that gets added on top, it's going to take you a very, very long time to pay it off. So I would highly recommend not doing that unless it's absolutely necessary. But make sure that you are at the very least making a minimum payment each month on your credit cards and any other debt that you have owing. So whether you are doing debt repayment or you're saving up, make sure that you allocate how much you need towards that as well. So if you're doing your debt repayment, see how much you need for all your minimum payments first, and then how much you can throw on to your debt. Just figure out how much you can afford to throw into that to get it paid off faster than what it would be if you don't. If you are saving, whether you're saving for school, a house, if you need a new laptop for school, anything, or just something you've been eyeing up and you really want, let's say you need that laptop in 2 months and you have an extra $250 to spare, so each bi-weekly paycheck, put $250 aside into savings so that come 4 bi-weekly payments or 2 months later, you are able to throw down $1,000 cash and pay cash for your laptop and not go into debt over it. From there, I would go into your miscellaneous expenses, so stuff that doesn't necessarily happen every month or every paycheck. It's stuff that happens every so and so often that you know is coming up that you need to pay for. So for an example, like an oil change on your car, because that doesn't happen every month unless you're someone who drives a lot. But so if you know you need to pay for that, if it's not under warranty, you make sure that you budget for that in that paycheck as well. Or even if it's something as simple as, you know, you're running low on contact solution, or you need to buy new glasses, or you need more toothpaste. Or if you know on this next budget, you're gonna run out of your high-end fancy shampoo and skincare and you need money for that, make sure you budget for it. Do not go into debt over stupid things that can be prevented. I cannot stress this enough. Just try not to go into debt, period, unless you can prevent it, or if it's for a mortgage, which is a good debt. I will talk about good debt versus bad debt in another video as well, but just try not to do it. Then if you're someone that makes regular donations into causes you believe in, whether it's cancer research, whether you're sending money to kids in Africa, whether you're tithing to your church, make sure you're budgeting for that as well. When you have larger expenses that are annually, that either don't have the option of monthly payments or you just don't do the monthly payments because it's cheaper to go annually, like insurance, property taxes, or annual memberships like your Costco membership, or if you pay yearly for NHL, or if you pay yearly for Amazon Prime, etc., stuff like that. I would still budget for it monthly. Let's say you have $2,000 property taxes and that you get paid bi-weekly. So that's approximately 26 paychecks in a year at $2,000. So you want to make sure you save up for that $2,000 within those 26 paychecks, either into a separate account, or either you take the cash out of your account, put it in an envelope in your safe at home where you will not touch it. Then that way it's just easier come annually when that bill comes up that you can just pay it in full. If you're going to have to charge it to your credit card or be financially stressed for a while by doing one lump sum payment annually, I would highly suggest doing it each paycheck like that, because it's a lot easier to make little payments each paycheck than it is to do one big $2,000 payment. Whatever's left over from your budget after you do your fixed expenses, variable expenses, miscellaneous expenses, what you throw to savings, debt repayment, whatever, you can allow yourself, if there's some left over, a bit of a spending allowance. But don't put all that's left over after your expenses to spending allowance. You need to make sure that you're putting some to savings or paying off debt. Don't allow yourself to spend and blow through all that money. Give yourself $50, $100, $200, depending on how much you make. But do not let yourself blow through that money. Save for your future. Pay off your debt now so you have more money later. Look out for your future. Don't be blowing money on stuff that's only going to buy you temporary happiness to prevent yourself from having a happy, financially secure future later. It's important to budget your personal allowance last because you need to make sure that you are covered for the month when it comes to your bills, your groceries, your gas, your debt payments, etc. Because if you allow yourself this much for clothes, this much for hair, this much for fun money, that takes away money that you can put towards your savings or towards paying your debt off faster so that you end up having more money in the long run. So do your personal budget last. Do yourself that favor. Because when you have that all accounted for and whatever excess you want to put on your debt and or your savings, you will know how much money you have left to spend towards that stuff. Because all this personal allowance stuff, that's not necessary expenses. Your bills, your debt repayment, that's necessary. You don't want to be spending so much money here that you can't afford to pay your bills or your debt here, because you will get yourself in trouble. So then, and only then and not before, you can give yourself an allowance for eating out, for clothes, for getting your hair done, for fun money, like going out to the movies and stuff like that. You can budget all of that once you're done budgeting everything else. You need to know how much is going to your bills, to your debt, how much you're going to need for your groceries, your gas, your essentials, and everything like that first. So if you're salaried and you know what you're going to get on each and every paycheck down to the cent, then you can go a day or two before and actually plan out your zero-based budget. But if you're someone that gets paid hourly or your pay varies just depending on circumstances, then you'd have to wait until the day of to plan out your budget. But I would do it on payday to make sure that you stay on track. Another tip that I'd like to give is put your payments in your calendar. So everything that comes out, mortgage, loan, line of credit, car payment, phone bill, Amazon Prime, Netflix, just every single recurring payment, like I said, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly, annually, etc., and put it in your calendar. That helps so that when you go to make your budget for that paycheck, you can go, okay, on the Friday, I have my mortgage and my line of credit payment. The Saturday, oh, that's the truck loan. Okay, then I have Netflix on this day. Oh, my student loan comes out this day. Our utilities come out this way. Our insurance comes out this day. And in the notes, if you don't have those amounts memorized as to what you pay for each payment, I'd write what the payment is. So Netflix, $13.99. Amazon Prime, $8.39. Student loan, $150, whatever. Put it in there so that way when you're going through and you're seeing those, you can actually go either on the calculator on your phone, physically write it down, add up what all your expenses are going to be for that month, and make sure that you have that accounted for. Make sure that you have money to cover those first and foremost. Another method to make sure that you do that and you don't overspend is to have two separate accounts. One account for those fixed expenses that come that you make sure that all the money from everything you see on your calendar, you take the total of everything from those 2 weeks and you put it in that account, and then you have a separate account that's for spending, which is more variable stuff like groceries, gas, what you've allocated yourself for a spending allowance. That kind of stuff would be in that account. I thankfully work for a financial institution, so I get as many free accounts as I want, so I've taken advantage of that. I have a emergency fund, a savings, one for my maternity leave, a billing and expenses, but not everyone can do that because some banks make you pay per account monthly. That's expensive. You don't want to do that. But I would check with your bank because some of them do offer incentives. Like there's ones where if you keep your account balance over and so much throughout the entire month, the fee is waived. Or if you deposit so and so much into your account each month, the fee is waived. I would talk to your bank, figure that out, see what you can do to cut that expense from your life, because anywhere you can cut back money helps. That's just what I would suggest if you prefer to do everything digitally. But for some people, it works better cash only, because if you physically see the cash and you physically see what you have for cash, it helps you to not spend so much. Like if you allotted yourself $200 for spending that month, and you look in your wallet and you see the $200, and you look and you see that $90 item you wanted to buy, and you're like, do I really want to leave myself with only $110 for the full month? And it makes you second guess your purchase and makes you decide if you really want it. It makes you think on it, which really helps. Whereas opposed to if it was just all plastic, you would swipe and not really think about it. Then after, when you realize the money's tight, you'd be like, oh man, what do I do? How am I going to make this last me that long? And then you're really going to have to budget yourself. So it just depends on who you are, how your mindset is. If you can control yourself, if you're someone who regularly checks your online banking, mobile banking, whatever, and keeps an eye on it and knows, then go with the digital. If you don't keep an eye on that, if you need the actual visual in front of you, do the cash method. Do cash. Any payments that you have to make that aren't automatically withdrawn, take out cash. Money that you allow for groceries, take out cash. Have a separate envelope for it. Keep everything separated in separate envelopes. There is a budget program that I really love called The Budget Mom. I'll do a whole separate video on her program as well. When you purchase her Budget by Paycheck, she gives you envelope templates that you can print out, create all these different envelopes for different expenses, whether it's for car, groceries, gas, etc. And they're all fancy little designs, and they're small enough that they can fit in your wallet, or you can get a little envelope binder that you carry with you and just shove in your purse, whatever. What I'm trying to say is each person is different. I am someone that watches my account like a hawk, and I have an amount that I know I am not comfortable with my account going under, and I watch it. And even if it's getting remotely close, it stresses me out. So I am someone that can do the digital version of it. But I know people that aren't like that, and they need to do the cash. They need to see the cash to do it and to understand better, and that's what I recommend for them. So you need to figure out what's best for you, what would be more effective for you to make sure that you're not spending more than you need to spend, and to make sure that you keep the money aside that you need to keep aside to make sure that your bills are always covered and paid for. A very important thing that I want to get across to you is it doesn't matter whether you have an accountant, a bookkeeper, a financial advisor, a banker, someone that you pay to help manage you with your money. No one is going to be able to hold you accountable the way that you can hold yourself accountable. No one is going to be able to stop your spending. No one is going to be able to break your bad spending habits except you. You have to hold yourself accountable, not anybody else. This is on you, and only you. You are accountable for your own spending, for your own finances. No one is going to do this for you. You need to do this for yourself. You need to start now, not in a week, not in a month. Hold yourself accountable. Your future self will thank you for it. As Dave Ramsey says, live like no one else now so that you can live like no one else later.